All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition, a special edition of the Monday Night Football Showdown show here, because it's going to be converted to the two-gamer. Of course, we got two games going on tonight. Same time, NFL says they're testing some stuff out. They want to see how it goes. So we got two games, same time. We're going to break them down game by game like we would normally do on a Sunday show. Smash a like on the way in. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Also, make sure to go to the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. 190 away from giving away the $5.99 annual membership. So it's 10 here, 10 there. But after yesterday, we're going to go through that. We had a huge day for the community. We're going to break it all down for you guys. But before we do, we're going to bring in my guys. I got Hoop and Title here with me as always. Hoopster, I'll start with you. I know you were trying to say something before I got the text. We'll be good. It's a secret. We can't tell everybody, but we'll take care of it all. 2 free monthly memberships still to give away today as well. Our guy Nevs, shout out to him. He gave 4 away yesterday, 2 more to go today, and then we've got a contest in the works for the 6-month bundle that he's giving away as well. But Hoopster, I'll bring you in, man. What's going on?
Yeah, not too much. A massive day in the community yesterday, SHIPIT Nation community. You tallied it up. You got the tweet out, and it was what's this?
Go ahead, keep talking. I'm bringing up our ads, right? People don't want the marketing.
That's right. I see what you did there. We'll go to our sponsored reads instead that we've turned down. We have the opportunity to do those instead. We've turned them down, but I'll keep it short and simple. All right, just to put it that way. $600,000 in wins. You total it all up. Got the tweet out. Just incredible stuff. Like hundreds of dollars into tens of thousands, and when you start something like this, you hope you get a couple of those. You hope you get a couple of those wins within the community, a couple days like that within the community. Now it's at the point where it's just it's a weekly thing. So it's awesome to see. We're starting to get used to it over here, and man, that Discord lighting up as soon as these contests end. Absolutely love to see it. I think people prefer this over the shaving the balls readout, right? I'd hope.
I do. Yeah, we don't shave balls. We don't care about that, really. To be honest, people have talked about it in the past. We make fun of it, but as you said, I'll bring in Title here in a second. But before I do, just looking at it, over 600,000 in the community wins. This is just what we're posting on here. Like our guy Jill came down. Said it here. I've won since joining. He's a founding family member. I've won 25K, 15K, 14K, now 108K, $420 into 108,000. Shipped the showdown slate last night for 98,000. Our guy D-Dry said he gets his almost permanent spot here in the 2-hole. Literally won $100,000 twice yesterday. So nice. He won it twice. Hoop, we had that one going yesterday on the show. 100K in the afternoon slate, 100K in the showdown slate. Hopefully no stat corrections. I think he came out clean. Shady 0828, $100,000 on the afternoon slate. Jay Bannock has been on an absolute heater himself. He said, what did he say? Went heavy today. Need to chill. Won 126K on the Sunday main slate. Comes back in the evening, early first thing this morning, and says close, but too much AJ on to Monday. Mind you, another 38,000 racking up there. So over 150K. K-Crap's been with us from the start. Absolute legend. He is last year's defending NBA FanDuel champion in their world championship. He's over here getting I believe it's his 4th and 5th final seats for the football championship, which you guys all have coming up. Hoopster's in that. Our guy Ham is in that. A bunch of others as well. Chetty wins over 11K. Big Daddy Kane, who gave away some free memberships just a couple weeks ago, over 15,000. Another founding family member. The green signifies they've been there since day one. These are within the first 30 days joining us. They're sticking around, and that's what it takes sometimes. Mind you, Big Daddy Kane, it didn't take him that long. He's been winning a lot more before this, but getting the job done, just to say it. Our guy Lay the House, we talked about him. He won over 50K in NBA last 2 weeks, but this was 20K like on Friday. Red Dog turned $400 into 18K. Smarties in our community run college basketball channel putting out a core that won Scotty 7K. I shipped the 222 on a single bullet for 5K, just an absolute ton. And I threw it in there because some people are watching us for the first time probably, but simple. Nobody can guarantee you winners. We stand by this. We've explained this from the start. But if you want to join a community with like-minded individuals that are out to help one another, it doesn't mean we still battle each other in the streets every night. We're trying to beat each other. But if I can't beat Hoop or I can't beat some member or a founding family member or whatever, we're rooting them on. We're cheering them on. We know our turn will come. But if they understand the ups and downs of DFS, SHIPIT Nation is the place to be. Today is your last chance to get in using the promo code TRY20. The last thing before I will truly finally hand it off to my guy Title is that this is simple. We have not changed our price. We had our $49 for 1 week. We went to $59 for a month and stayed at it forever for the longest time until we went finally to $69 where we would set it would cut off. And we've stuck with that. We've ran infinite amount of promos to make it cheaper for you guys to be able to get in and see what it's all about. This is the equivalent of our intro week level 1 pricing where you could get in. It's only for your first month, but we really do want you the chance to try it out. Get a chance to give it a look, see what you think. So get in, use the code TRY20. Title, incredible day yesterday. Free money Sunday. Now it's free money Monday. Here we go. We move it over, or money day, if you will. What's going on, man? How you doing? You got that Packers gear on, I see.
Oh, yeah. Packers gear. Got the Rod's jersey. Hey, Jay Love, he's playing well, but interesting two-gamer. I love to see all the success in the community. Wasn't a great Sunday for me. That's how she goes, though. It's nice seeing 2 games. Showdown's fun, but these 2-game slates are fun as well. Very interesting slate, too, because, you just go to the quarterback position. Well, one guy stands out in a tier of his own in Tua. Love has been playing pretty well. And there's 2 guys people don't want to click. Kind of the story of this slate, but you know where ownership's going to go? Should be pretty fun. I think we're talking. Last time we had a 2-gamer, we went game by game. And 5 seconds in, we're going position by position. Tell me if that's the case, Tambo. That's what I've been preparing for. But I'm excited to talk through this one.
Yeah, that's what I said. Let's talk about the quarterback position because then we can relate it to, okay, everyone's going to go Tua and Love. And it looks like Love is actually going to that. We'll go in 1 second. I do just want to point this out, though, quickly. Someone asked about this, a lot of it. Yes, there was different stuff. People were on Lamar. We talked about him within the site yesterday. We talked about him in the Discord. He was in the slate plan. So Lamar Stacks made it. But we brought this up yesterday. It's free on the Mayo Media Network. This show at 9:45 a.m. Eastern every Sunday. Jake Browning stacks. He did just fine. Tanner Hudson even scored a touchdown. Mixon, if you weren't going to this one, playing Mixon made sense. Brock Purdy stacks. Crushed. Ritter almost got me there. I needed one more touchdown from Pitts to contend with the Njokus and the Ingrams of the world and double boost Ritter and Pitts. But that stack was fine. And then, of course, I was all over Justin Fields and co. Many others were also. So either way, that's just one tool. But I've explained this multiple times. The Hamwich FanDuel slate plan alone has won me over 200 grand. These stack rankings, I was heavy on them yesterday in the slate plan, using them out there. Plenty. It wasn't my best day either. It's nice to see the members get the job done. I didn't put it all together properly, but there's a lot at your fingertips that you can use. That's going to do it. We did it less than 10 minutes. No manscaped. Congratulations to all the members. We can get on it here. Hoop. We will go position by position. But before we do, give me your grand scheme overview for what you see for this slate. And then if you have any 2-game tips, I know we bring them up each time, 2-game slate tips. But people do like to know, is there stuff you do differently? Is there stuff that you'll consider more? Talk to us a little bit about that as well, and let's get into it.
Yeah, it's pretty wide open. In terms of correlation, obviously it's not a huge deal. You don't need to look to correlate. Stacking your quarterback with pass catchers, it's probably just naturally going to happen. So I don't think you have to force it in there. It's a two-game slate. The winning lineup could just be so wild. You look at it at the end of the night and just be like, wow, this makes no sense, but it won somebody $500,000. So you need to kind of build your teams with that in mind. You got to build those teams thinking man, anything can happen, 2-game slate type thing. It is hard to obviously sell yourself on some of these offense or, 2 of these offenses. The Giants are projected to score 15 and the Titans are projected to score 16 points. And then, we have the Dolphins projected to put up 30, which, they put up a lot of points and they continue to do it even when they're up by a lot. And then the Packers have been rolling, but, without some key pieces tonight, obviously no Aaron Jones and no Christian Watson. And it's kind of a bummer because I have the Packers in that survivor pool. There's 80 people left for 1.3 million, and I have the Packers tonight. So I don't feel great about it, to be honest with you. I think we talked about it on the Cash Show title on Friday. I ended up not going with the Steelers. 40% of people took the Steelers. There's 140 people left. 40% took the Steelers. Another 8 took Houston. So it's down to like 70, and I got the Packers tonight. So
who else was chalk? Is it the Packers?
I almost ran so good because the other team, the 25% of people were on the Ravens.
I was going to say that
would have cleared it down to like 30 people. Tambo, of course, man, rooting against his boy to win 1.3 million.
No. I was just about to prop you up and say that I think you're still good tonight with these Packers, but yes, I was thinking you didn't get that in that spot, but the Ravens, I mean, they played extremely bad and still came out with the win. So that was just nuts to see. I said this on the review show earlier, for it to even go the way it did was nuts.
Yeah. That was wild finish. But yeah, I mean, I need the Packers tonight.
They'll get you home.
I hope, man. I hope. In terms of this slate, I mean, just like correlation really doesn't matter all that much. If you just run the teams, like I like doing this when we hop on these shows now. I'm going to start doing them more often, just running 150 without really changing anything and just seeing like kind of what we get. You're going to get a lot of Tua and Jordan Love, obviously. I mean, those are the two competent quarterbacks on the slate that have been playing well. You're going to get a lot of A.J. Dillon, a ton of A.J. Dillon. Like he's without Aaron Jones. You're going to get
Tyreek.
You're going to get a lot of Tyreek, and you're going to get a lot of the cheap Packers wide receivers, and those will be the common type builds, like that sort of build. So I have this team up. We can reference it or not. I have this build up. I have this 150 lineup build. We can reference this at any point, but I just ran it blindly without putting any rules, nothing in place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I was doing the same. I love doing that. I think that's a good part to add to your process if you don't have that in there already, just to see what the field's going to be doing. I know I say it all the time in NBA, trust the projections. Same goes for everything else, but it's not always what you think it is. Like people think that means trust exactly what it gives you and just turn it out into a CSV and put it up in your lineups. I'm trusting that what's going on here lets me think about what others are doing. Now I can work on things that I focus on, like leveraging the field and doing something that's different. And that's why I like for the 2-gamer going position by position, because we know Tua and Love are going to be popular title. And I think I'll get your take on this title, but I think Love actually ends up coming in even more owned just because of the savings and the fact that it's still easy to stack them up. You've got no Jones there, no Watson. It makes it easy to stack that side. And then also if you want to fit Barkley and Tyreek and multiples, and who knows how people feel about Derrick Henry or Waddle or some of these other guys, you're already forced into a cheap tight end. So that's what leaves those two. But I actually think Love ends up coming in even more owned than what we're seeing at least. But what's your thoughts on how it shakes out? And then you can start us off with that as a segue into this quarterback position.
So you think Love's going to be higher owned, or you think about the same or closer than industry has it projected?
I think he's going to be higher than Tua, I'm saying.
Higher than Tua, yeah. Interesting. I don't see it that way. If I knew that though, I mean, I could even get behind just lock buttoning Tua in this spot. Like they just put up so many points. At the end of the day, the Packers are the story of the slate. Like without Watson, without Aaron Jones, everyone's going to be playing A.J. Dillon. Tight end is as bad as it ever has been. There's two pretty Chig and Tucker Kraft. Well, Bellinger, maybe stuff like that. But like you can't spend up at tight end, which is going to get everyone on the same Tua or Love. No one wants to play DeVito. No one wants to play Will Levis. Will Levis will be a little higher. I don't think he's the craziest play, but it's like, man, then you got to stack them up with people. Everyone's going Dillon. Everyone's going Tyreek. That's the general roster construction. Then they're punting with the Wicks, with the Jaden Reeds, a guaranteed tight end. So that's the general roster construction right there. Broad overview 2-gamers, we always say you can leave money. Pricing is relatively soft on this slate. I don't know. Like Tyreek's obviously up there. The Saquons are up there. But plenty of guys in this mid-tier, like with no Watson and no Aaron Jones, these guys are all too cheap for their role. A lot of these Giants are very cheap, going to be on the field a ton. So I will be looking to leave some money on the table. Quarterback position, I don't know. It's not really a position I'm going to get too much different at. No chance I'm playing DeVito. Even in 100 teams, I don't think I'm getting there. Will Levis, he'd be the guy. I'm probably going to play all three in 150. I don't know, but I want 70% Tua something and then mix in some Love. Mix in some Levis. I mean, I think Tua's clearly in his own category, and I think you think Love and Tua might. You think Love might even be more than Tua.
I think it'll be close. It's going to be like 35-35 is possible. It may be 40-30, which is what I think people think right now. But I think you could see 38, 32 just as easily. And that's still pretty close. I'm just saying it's definitely going to be, I don't think like Tua is going to be 50% or something like you kind of could expect in some scenarios.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope if that's the case, yeah. I like Tua a lot more than Jordan Love in this spot. I just think everyone's going to go with these Packers. Like there's with these injuries, it's going to be Dillon, it's going to be Reed, it's going to be Wicks, it's going to be Tucker Kraft, it's going to be, I don't know. I think those Dubs might get a little bit because of his price. But to be honest, how I'm seeing it, if Packers are the chalk of all chalks, I'm going to try and get some exposure to these other teams. Give me Tua, Waddle, or Tyreek. Single stacking, it's fine with them. Then I'll try and get different with some of these other Titans, Giants, secondary pieces. But Packers are the story of the slate is how I'm seeing it with the injuries.
Yeah, and Hoop, I want to ask you too, same thing, and then you could take on these quarterbacks and comparing it, talking it against the DFS slate, the ownership, all those other angles that people are looking at. But I think some of it stems too, also not just the injuries on the side of the Packers, but it was not that long ago. That's the thing about with this game being when it is, or this 2-game set is on Thanksgiving. Remember what happened to kick the day off is Love just went nuts, right? And Love came out, he got the job done. I do think that's somewhere in the back of people's mind. And then obviously you get the savings from Tua down to him. I just think that stands out to people. So that's why I think, look, even if he stays at where the industry kind of has him at right now in that 30% range, that's still a lot of Love lineups. So a lot of love for Jordan, if you will. But what's your take on that and the rest of the quarterbacks as they pertain to this slate?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's like clicking on DeVito or Levis. It just does not sound like a fun time tonight to kind of have to like root for those guys. I mean, just let's look at the fantasy output. So Levis, his last 5 games, 12, 7, 13, 7, 10 fantasy points. Like none of those are going to be needed tonight. You're going to need more than that most likely. And then DeVito, 11. He does have a 22 spot. He does have a 14 spot. He's gotten a 10, and then he's got a 7 most recently. So, man, like what are the odds of Levis or DeVito being the optimal quarterback tonight? You got to kind of weigh that out a little bit. And like their combined ownership is coming in, I don't know, somewhere between like 25-ish to 30% potentially. Do you just say, hey, you know what, I'm just playing Love and Tua and then hoping it's one of them, and then I'm going to have more pass to the top? Is it that sort of night? Like that's something I'm looking at potentially doing, between DeVito and Levis. Like who do I prefer between those two? I think it's DeVito. Something tells me, maybe it's just because I need the Packers to win so bad, but something tells me that the Giants like get something going here tonight. Like, I don't know, like maybe I'm just trying to, make something up in my head here, but just I think they might get something going. So maybe it is DeVito, but I'm not opposed to just playing Love and Tua. And then the question for you guys in terms of stacking, like, are you playing a pass catcher with your quarterbacks or just letting it run tonight?
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm playing at least one.
Same. Yeah, same. So I'm gonna, I mean, you can. I don't think you absolutely have to, but I'm definitely leaning towards doing it. But it's naturally going to happen anyway. If you're high on Love and Tua, you're just naturally going to get those.
You're already getting it with them. Yeah,
it's already going to show up in there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can cut out a big chunk of the field if you think it's just Tua or Love tonight. I mean, you can cut out a big chunk, and people are going to, oh well, DeVito and Levis will be low on a 2-game slate. That's all going to add up. They're going to get some sort of ownership. There's no doubt about it. You can just potentially cut a big chunk of the field out. So it's something I'm exploring, and all that information will be up on the on my player pool.
Yeah, the H in Hoop stands for Hedge Life. He's got that big money bet in for the survivor pick.
It's just chilling in the back of my head, man. Like I woke up today and I'm like, man, the Giants are going to like just ruin everything tonight. I don't know.
Yeah, he only likes DeVito because it helps him on the other side. Remember?
Yeah, right. Get the emotional free roll. Get the emotional free roll.
For the picks from Hoop and me and others, sign up for the actual process. And now you know Hoop's process tonight. But I will say, like, a couple things you said. One, even if they are, like, the chat's already chiming in, not believing 25% ownership on Levis and on DeVito, but that's fine. Put it at 15%. Put them at 7.5% each. You still, that like Hoop said, if you want to go all in on those other two, you're definitely knocking off 15% of the field there, some way, shape, or form, by looking at it from that perspective. If you go that way, it gives you the ability to mix in more of these punt plays in these other positions. Like, let's say you get some Tua, Tyreek, Barkley's, things like that, but now you can mix in some more different running backs, like the Patrick Taylors or the Spearses of the worlds, things like that. If you want to mix more of those guys in, if you want to mix in more Hyatts and who else is out there, Wicks and Shepherds and all these different plays at the wide receiver position. You can do that. Tight end, same thing. But it does set up for that kind of slate because you've got sort of all cheap tight ends, all mid-range running backs, mostly mid-range wide receivers, with Tyreek being the exception. And then quarterbacks, it's like Tua and then 3 whatevers, but everyone's just automatically ranking Love ahead of the other 2, probably for good reason and because of what we've seen him doing lately. So it does set up for that way. You're going to have to look for ways to get different. Hoop just brought up a couple. Title mentioned some as well. I think you will just get natural stacking in there, no problem for what we said. You'll get money left on the table, but sometimes on slates like this, it's the take out every Derrick Henry lineup or take out some and put in Spears and leave the money.
Well, that's what won it. That's what won the last 2 games. Slate Squirrel Patrol, right? I mean, it was a common build, and then he just went from, I can't remember who the
Chubb got hurt.
Chubb
got hurt. Yeah, and then he had Ford in there, and it shipped. I mean, solo ship. Was it $1 million? I think that might have been $1 million.
And he left like 4,000 or something on the table.
Left a big chunk on the table. So yeah, it's just that one pivot essentially. Everything else was right on par with natural normal builds, but those 1 to 2 pivots made all the difference in the world and a big chunk of money on the table. I mean, it's a 2-game slate. I mean, you just don't need to overcomplicate it. Like, we know what the common sort of build is going to be tonight. You know that if you're looking to solo ship, take some of those chances, and it paid off in that last big 2-game slate.
Yeah, and I think everyone has them ranked pretty much the same way. It's like one of those 2 up top and then the other 2 way down at the bottom for these 4 quarterbacks. So you have to look at it from how you're going to build it out. If with Tua, it's still very easy to get to Tyreek. So I'll definitely have some Tua lineups that don't contain Tyreek, and you just hope you get the Waddle game. I know everybody makes fun of, we talk about, let's get off Tyreek and go to Waddle, and we're going to be unique. And it's not even the case half the time because Waddle still gets a lot of the ownership. I get that joke. But on a 2-game slate would be a spot to make that happen. Or just look for your Tyreek lineups that don't have Waddle, take out Tyreek and drop down to Waddle. Like, that's one example, again, where you can get different, and it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but not much should feel comfortable on these 2-game slates. It's very easy to build a nice lineup that everyone else is going to have. If you're doing that, get your best one, go play the double ups, the single entry double ups, all these stuff with the bigger fields, and play a bunch of cash with it, because it's probably a really good lineup that projects well, that's going to have 350% ownership or pushing 400% ownership. That is not going to do great for leverage in these large field tournaments like the $20 on DraftKings that pays $500K to first. That's how you solo ship, to the point Hoop made about Squirrel Patrol, is if you do something like that. So I think that's definitely a way. You can go with like another angle. You could have like DeVito or Levis with one guy, and so you're still stacking them where you can pay it off and get double points out of it. But then you could fit in the other receivers that most people would be pairing with their expensive one. Like if you went, like, let's just make an example up, but like Waddle, Tyreek with DeVito, I know you're going to assume it's going to be, but you don't know what's going to happen at those other positions. You could end up having a Levis, or I guess you could still use Love in this example, and go Love, Tyreek, Waddle. You would expect it to be Tua, but you end up filling it out with other stuff instead that's still needed. We've seen that work plenty of times on these slates, so I don't have any problem with that as well. Title, I'll go back to you just if you have any other thoughts on sort of those types of things, like stacking them up. And I got to give a shout out to your homies, the Best Ball Sweats. And I know, it's not a best ball show, but we have a great partnership with Drafters. We do stuff with Underdog. A lot of people sweating on both sides. You are the defending Drafters champion. I have to ask you, my friend, I know you're like me. We're not looking at this stuff till it matters. Tonight kind of matters. We're getting close to at least something. Do you have some sweats? Do you know of others that have some sweats there? What are we looking at here in the best ball streets before you continue on?
Yeah, Drafters fully cooked. I think I looked 2 weeks ago. My top 2 teams at Mark Andrews and Joe Burrow, so that won't do the job. I did see one person, though, on Twitter. He's been the past like 3-4 weeks. He was in first place for a while. He dropped to second place. He was tweeting that out on Drafters, too. So forget the username. He said he's been following for a bit, though. Shout out to you. Good luck. Nothing better, as I told them, than that sweat. As far as Underdog and DraftKings, well, yeah, I mean, you really still have to get lucky. So today's the last day to get to the playoffs. But, yeah, I mean, you can still have the Stone Nut team. Like the guy that had the best regular season team on Underdog last year got bounced first round, and that is common. So you got to get really lucky. I'll have teams on both sites moving through, but I don't click. I have so many teams. I don't click through each one, and it's really all about, can you field a healthy team at this point? So got to get lucky. That's what I'll be hoping to do. Good luck, everybody out there.
More injuries too, like last night too. The Herbert stuff, man. My
Herbert,
fingers
Jacobs, everything is.
On a side note, how does that coach still have a fucking job? I mean, that guy is such a disaster. I mean, I know it's not related to the Herbert injury, but he's got to be like one of the worst. And he just looks like a bonehead just sitting on the sideline. He just looks like an idiot. Like, get his ass out of there, please.
You could say that about a lot of these guys.
For sure. No, but for some reason, there's something about he's got some look on his face that just irritates me. Just get him out, please. Let him be a defensive coordinator somewhere. I'm sure that's the next job in line for him. Like, get him, move. Get out of here.
Romy says sitting in first right now by a mile, headed to the playoffs with Dak and McCaffrey. That's nice. Real quick, Danny, you did win yesterday. Congrats. This is not like a set in stone thing, right? One thing I will definitely say though is if you're on the site, go right here, go under shop, go education, and if you're looking to play NFL DFS, you're here. I'm assuming so. Click into this course. It's 4 hours, but you can pick and choose your spots. Go into the table of contents. Every member, anyone that signs up gets full access to this. We have an NBA one as well, and then we've got another one coming soon for PGA. So we're going to get you guys set up for success there as well. I'll be recording that shortly. I'll kick it back to you, Title. Carry on. Any other stuff? I was trying to look for just ways that you can get unique within these stacks. Obviously, going position by position today, we'll incorporate it when we get to running back and wide receiver, etc. But I think the one I thought of was DeVito and one of those cheap tight ends. It looks like Bellinger is going to play, but if he didn't, or even if he does, you can still play. If he plays, play him. It's fine. But if he doesn't, you still have Cager right there for $300 cheaper. If you just do just those two, you're off the mark. Now just fill it out with almost whatever and leave a little money. Don't get all the chalk, but you could do a lot of things at that point, I think. Is there anything else like that you could think of that stands out before we hop into it?
No, yeah, that's definitely if you're maxing all your salary on this 2-game slate, you want to make sure you're playing someone that's going to be sub 10%. Maybe you are playing, obviously, Squirrel left a ton of money there, but I guess on this slate, if AJ Dillon gets hurt, if a chain gets hurt, it's Mostert, vice versa. But if AJ Dillon gets hurt, it's going to be Patrick Taylor. So if you want to do that, you can max, have a game script in mind. The Tajee Spears, Derrick Henry, we'll get into that. Of course, always look at ownership, but if you're using all your salary, you want to make sure you have at least one, probably two sub 10, 15% players in there to get different. Or we always talk about it, completely overstack. Not really sure how contrarian that's going to be with the Packers today, just because of the pricing. But if you even Miami, with how expensive they are, any of the other 3 teams but the Packers, that's a way to get different as well. So,
I like that one too. It's a 2-gamer, and you turn it into a 1-gamer where you just have to use a piece from the other game or something, and that's plenty fine. I mean, that happens all the time on these slates. Definitely can do that, and then do it with leaving money. When you've got Jaden Reed instead of Jalen Waddle in your lineup, it's most people would just obviously go up to him because it's going to project better. It's with Tua, then guess what? You probably have the money to convert to Tua too, if you're leaving enough on there. So I definitely don't hate that. And if you want to play around with it, go into the optimizer like Hoop did. He built out what everybody's doing when you just press the button. That's what a lot of the field's doing. People start maneuvering with it. Sharper players definitely don't just do that. But what we're saying is you could also go in and set your salary cap to a max of 48,500 and then run 150 and see what those lineups you get look like and start to figure out, oh, okay, well, if I do that, and then you might find lineups you're that doesn't even look that bad. It correlates. It makes sense. Looks solid to me, and then go from there. So I think there's a lot of ways that you can do it. If nothing else, I don't think there's much else to go on there. We're going to tie it in when we get to receivers and stuff anyway. But Title, maybe talk to us a little bit about these running backs. We know about the news that came out this morning. Aaron Jones doubtful, so we're expecting him to be out. And then you talked about Patrick Taylor behind A.J. Dillon. The chat, they know you're wearing the Packers gear and everything you got going on there, but the Wisco boys and all this, but they're going to continue to tell you that A.J. Dillon sucks and just keep it rolling from there. And I think you agree. So I was just going to say, I don't think it's a problem for that part, but talk to me a little bit about, and it says Aaron Jones out officially anyway. So I saw this morning. I didn't go from there. I was on another show, but go ahead, take over.
Yeah. I'll talk running back position. First of all, what's going on, Space Cowboy? Hope everything going well with you. Talking about Hoops Lawn too in the snow, but hope everything going well, Bill. As far as the running back position, well, I mean, you look at it right away. So if you sort it by salary, Saquon 7.1, a chain 7K, Mostert 6.7, Derrick Henry 6.5, Dillon 5.3, and I will say Tajee Spears 5K too, because I think he's over 10%. Those are the only guys that are getting any ownership right there, though. So 6 people on a running back slate. You have to play at least 2. I mentioned the Patrick Taylor. I'll throw Matt Breida in there as well. Those are the only two because Derrick Henry and Tajee both get in the work. Like if one of them get hurt, it's going to be the other guy. They're still owned. If a chain gets hurt, Mostert, they'll still be owned. If you want to get the backup running back, you're playing 150, whatever, I would only do Patrick Taylor and Matt Breida because if Saquon goes down, Breida's getting the work. No one's playing them. Same thing with A.J. Dillon. I still probably won't get there as much. I like just leaving money, hoping to avoid injury. But when you do get the injury, you can win $500K. Now, A.J. Dillon, yes, I do think he's cheats. He's been a little better as of late. The offensive line has been better. They're getting a better push. But he's 5.3K. And no Aaron Jones. He's going to get a ton of work against an awful Giants team. It's good size favorites. And you look at it like Saquon, Chain, Mostert, and Derrick Henry, all at least $1,200 more than him. I'm playing a lot of Tua. I'm playing a lot of Tyreek. I will have my highest owned running back will be A.J. Dillon, and it's not fun to say at all. But he is plus 120 to fall in the box. Pretty solid props. And again, the good game script, which should be as they should be leading most of the game. I like a chain and Mostert way more than I like Saquon. I like Tajee Spears more than I like Derrick Henry. It's not a 50-50 split, but it's pretty close to it. When the Tennessee's leading, it's Derrick Henry's show. And as we saw 2 weeks ago, when they're trailing, it's Tajee Spears way more involved. Obviously, you look at it against Miami, they're expected to be trailing 13.5-point dogs. Give me Tajee Spears over Derrick Henry. And I still think, maybe a third of the ownership, something like that. Love Tajee Spears. We'll be playing a lot of them. And again, a pivot from that A.J. Dillon range too. Of course, I'll have plenty of lineups, both 5K, 5.3, easy to get to a Tyreek, leave more money on the table. But I like Tajee Spears as a pivot to A.J. Dillon. Derrick Henry's my least favorite up there. Someone asked, can you play a chain and Mostert together? 100%, most definitely. That offense is insane. Both the guys have got there multiple times this year, and there's only 2-game slate with 6 running backs really in play. So Henry Spears is the interesting one. I've been going back and forth if I should group it away or not. But again, little things like that is how you can win 2-game slates. Because they're so game script, like again, Henry's clearly the guy when they're ahead. Spears is the guy when they're behind. I think I probably want to group it away more times than not. I like a chain and Mostert more than Saquon. I like Spears more than Henry, and I will have a lot of A.J. Dillon. Probably won't be playing the Taylor Breida injury thing, but I don't think it's the craziest thing.
I got to have a talk with our guy Boomer on those projections. If you somehow get a Henry Spears lineup together, that requires you to set a group because, my goodness, that should not be a thing. And I definitely will not be playing them together. It's already known the stats are out there forever on this D-Hember stuff, but it's also known forever that those stats go with when Tennessee was actually pretty good. And it's games that they're in. They're 14-point underdogs here. So, I don't know. Like I said, the optimizers still hoop. This is a great spot to use it. You got it up there. How much Henry are you getting in the dry run? Just no lube, slapped her up, and just shoved her in. Let's go.
It was. I just ran it with single digits. No, I just put in, as we were talking, because I didn't do anything, but I did put in Tajee Spears, to get at least 10%. And when I look at those teams individually, I am getting him a decent bit with Derrick Henry. So that is important to make sure you go in and make sure that doesn't happen, because I'm looking at, of these 15 teams, I see Henry 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But to clarify, though, you've put a min on Spears as well in this.
Yeah, to force him in a little bit. Yeah, to kind of force him in. But it is coming alongside with Henry on some of these teams. So I agree. Like I don't want those two together. There's not
I would second and double back on that. If you are going to do that and get him in there, then make sure you set the rule, because on the slate, like Title said earlier, the way salary sets up, that's why that to me would be happening. I didn't see any earlier when I looked at it just dry. That's why I was trying to see what you were getting on Henry. If you did nothing, forget Spears altogether.
Yeah, it was nothing. I was getting barely any Henry. And because these optimizers are just going to jam A.J. Dillon. Like A.J. Dillon came in at 100%. So like every single team had A.J. Dillon without changing anything.
And what about Mostert's projection to Henry? Because he's 200 more. I think that probably has a little to do with it as well.
Yeah, it's very possible. It was heavy Dillon, A-Chain, and Barkley at running back, and then the other guys, there was just not much of anyone else. It's just the dry run.
You guys had a strong lean on Mostert to Chain. Like, We're really guessing a lot at this point. A chain's more explosive. Mostert's got a little. First half, he got more touches. Second half was the chain. Again, I can play them both, but people are probably wondering if any of you guys got a strong lean. I'm curious.
Man, I don't know. I mean, for me, that 30 team total, I want a lot of both. I want to try to capture as many touchdowns from the Dolphins as I can. So I don't have a lean. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it was Mostert. I wouldn't be shocked if it was a chain that got the job done. I wouldn't be shocked if it was both of them. So I'm just trying to get a lot of both, I guess.
Yeah, you can definitely play both too. We've seen it happen on a main slate. I know no one got to it on that main slate because it was when HM was sort of just figured out and found out about. That was at the start of the season. But just to note, I mean, on a 2-gamer, could definitely do that. If someone said earlier, like, what if they get a couple touchdowns each or something like that? I don't know. I don't think we'll see a bunch of it, but you can definitely get it in there by forcing it and putting it through that way. I was just trying to see. So I ran the same thing, but I capped at 60, which I think is reasonable for this type of slate. Like, I don't think anyone's actually going to go out and just play all those lock buttons of what it was trying to give me, like Tyreek, Saquon, and then there was one more. So I'll just look at it. AJ Dillon, sorry. So from this perspective, I still get 60 of Tyreek, Barkley, Tua, Dillon, and go from there. But Derrick Henry now pops into 55% of those lineups. So now when I look at it from that perspective, I'm just trying to see if I go to it, how many actually get Spears in there. And I get 0 lineups with Spears. I get 5% Spears and in none with Henry. So just to keep it from that perspective, I mean, that's something that I would look at, but I wonder how much I'm actually getting of, let me turn him off since we're still talking running back title and go to, how much do you think you're actually going to get? Like, okay, let's see. It's giving me more Mostert than Achan. Where am I getting here? Achan is 28%. Mostert is giving me 35. But then how much within the Mostert lineups does it even give me a double? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. I actually get 22 lineups out of 150 where we're getting a double. So I'll kick it back to you, Title. Forget just the slight lean on what side you'd be on. Talk to me about the double, because the optimizer will give you, even with a 60% cap, it's giving me 22 lineups out of 150 that have both of them in it together. So what's your take on that?
100% good with it. The offense is so explosive. They're good. I mean, 14-point favorites, 13.5. They'll have to run the ball a lot. You look at touchdown props on this slate. Tyreek's minus 190, a chain minus 110, Mostert plus 105, Saquon plus 105. So right there, you have 2 of the top 4 touchdown props on the slate. And you had Saquon in there. They're top 2 of the 3, the top ones right there. So I think you can totally play them together. And like, Saquon's not in a great spot. Like, AJ Dillon, we know, can be cheeks. Henry, Tajee as big dogs. I wouldn't be surprised at all if A-Chain Mostert were the highest on the slate, playing with Tyreek. I mean, they're applied for 30. And even if they're out 21-0, still got their foot down on the gas most of the game there. So, yeah, I'm totally good playing both together. It's not going to be contrarian, but I don't know. Some people will get a little scared of that hand building maybe.
Yeah, it's definitely possible from the hand builds, keep it away from it, but it's crazy the optimizer was giving it that often. So I just thought I'd point that out. And then Zim says, can beat through the air versus the ground. You can do both against Tennessee. And you got to remember, we've watched it how many times with Dallas? A bunch. We watched it again yesterday with San Francisco. Oh, they're just going to be, and you know what? I love CMC yesterday, and CMC had a bad game and got like 20 points. It's one of those things because Debo got the end around. They rewarded him for what was pretty much his touchdown. Anyway, that type of stuff happens, but it was all like Purdy, Ayuk, Kittle, Debo, all through the air and stuff where you still got to put up the points for it to be a blowout. So that could be something too, that like you can go tonight where I know it's giving you Barkley in a lot of those lineups, but I think you could get Tua with these running backs, at least one of them or both of those guys, and going off it. You can mix and match how you're doing that. Hoop, do you get anything else you want to add or talk more about these running backs and then some of the usage of these backups like the Patrick Taylors, Tyjae Spears, all these ones that we already brought up where some of them like Spears already gets a little bit of work and then he got a lot of work when Henry got injured last week and now it's like he's back, but still what's going to happen there?
Yeah, sorry, I had to step away. I had to sign for a package at the front door, and the mail guy just continuously he kept ringing the doorbell nonstop. So I figured I might as well take care of that. Like Tajee Sharp is a great run back for the Dolphins.
You mean Spears? Yes, everyone out there.
PJ Washington's a great player too.
PJ Washington,
Sharp.
yeah, Parker.
Which one's Sharp?
You're talking about Tajee. Wait, I don't know who you. Yeah, you're talking about
Tajee Sharp. Is that even a
Spears.
person from a different sport, or did I just make that up?
I don't know. It
He's
sounds.
talking about
There's plenty
Darren
of
Sharper. He's talking about Darren Sharper, the hardest hitting safety in the league.
Who am I
Thinking
thinking
about the Green Bay, the clip where he's carrying him, put the team on his back.
There's got to be something close. There's got to be something close to Tajee Sharp out there. Hey, but our boy, your boy PJ Washington did get that late touchdown yesterday. That was
yeah, he did.
Who did Sharp play for though? Sharp played for the Titans before, back in the day.
Yeah, I don't know.
2016 to 2019, he played for the Titans.
Tajee Sharp?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's wide receiver, right?
Receiver, yeah.
Yes. Okay. But Spears, I think, good guy to run back. If you're playing the game script where the Dolphins are scoring 40 points and you have a bunch of Dolphins guys in your lineups, I think Spears is a good guy to include in there. Fade Derrick Henry, play Spears, 5K. I don't think he'll get much ownership today. I think he definitely makes sense. The A.J. Dillon stuff is a little bit scary just because he's 5.3K. He's got so many paths to just like busting, man. Like we've seen it so many times in these spots, but it's just hard not to play him. And then the Dolphin stuff want heavy exposure there. I do like Barkley. I just, again, I don't know. It's a gut feeling, and maybe it's because I need the Packers to win today, but I just think the Giants are productive today. And there's a few Giants that I like, especially at the next position that we'll talk about. But I think Saquon, he has the role. I mean, it's not that dude. Definitely not that dude. I saw that one in there.
Yeah.
It's definitely there was that wide receiver, Tajee Sharp.
Yeah.
But Barkley has the most secure role, I think, honestly, on the slate, 7,100. If the game does go his way, if the Giants do have a lead, I mean, he has a path to a lot of touches. So, just to summarize it at the running back position, he might be my favorite, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I also think that just thinking out loud, that's what this show is for. For me, for you guys, we try and piece it together where it's not just this is the play or do the game by game like we used to on these two gamers, because I think that you just brought up a point, and I saw it against Washington when I was at King of the Beach, but DeVito leaning on Barkley, let's get him going, those two together. What if you went DeVito, Barkley, and one of the cheap tight ends and then filled all the rest out, and then you've got Barkley dragging DeVito through, whereas most people that go DeVito are going to naturally just go to whether it's Hyatt or whether it's going to be Slayton or Wandale, or with Barkley with one of them. What if you skip over the wide receivers, go to Barkley and one of the tight ends? Think about what that red zone play looks like. It could be Barkley scoring. It could be a pass to him that gets them there on an end or something like that, where they do that, or one of the tight ends. I think that's definitely possible as well. So making a case for the Italian stallion, as some were calling him earlier, but trying just to say different ways that you can work around it. So I don't hate that call. I think the sharp play would be the Spears play if you go to it, because you talk about a guy that was already getting.
Always, man. You just can't resist that shit. Like, you just can't even, like, any little thing like that pops in your head, like, you have to say it. You have to. You can never resist.
I'm sorry. I got to do it. And someone got it. I mean, the chat went real dark. We understand the news line on Darren Sharper is not very solid. I mean, the guy's in jail for 20 years or something, but it's a Madden reference. And it's so incredible when he's going down the thing. He's got a broken leg and he's
Greg Jennings.
And then he's, Greg Jennings. And then here's Darren Sharper.
No, it's a YouTube video. I'll send it to you after.
It's going over.
I only have one YouTube video popped up right now, and it's Tambo on Mayo. I still got this thing sitting here.
Oh God, man, you're just killing me.
Bookmarked. That thing's bookmarked.
Either way, the point was the Patrick Taylor one. I get it. He's behind A.J. Dillon. People already don't want to play A.J. Dillon. They don't like him for every reason, so they just naturally go to it, and I get that. But I do think that the Spears play, again, I also understand that last week was because Henry got injured. So if you're just game log watching, go, but Tambo, I looked and saw last week, that's all because of an injury. That's fine. He was mixing in and getting 20 to 30 snaps every other week. There was already talks of it down the stretch. And then I just don't see how Tennessee's in the game very, very long. And what everyone's going to say is the truth. They're going to lean on Henry. I don't disagree with this. They should try and start it out. But just because we're in the month of December that people flip to the name Dehember, probably someone like me coming up with these things off the top of their head, it doesn't mean he's going to have a good game. So if they're out of the game script pretty quickly, then I think it moves on from there. And a guy like Spears can just start to pick it up, right? He can start getting check downs. He can make moves, be shifty, almost like reminded me of like Gibbs in the game against the Ravens. Just to get on Hoop's case one more time. The Ravens played the Lions. They won like 40-6, but you got 30 fantasy points out of Gibbs in that game. I'm not expecting 30 from Spears, but I'm saying you could start to see him rack it up, even if there is a garbage time script. Even without, he can get in there earlier. But if it turns to garbage time script, I should say a better way is you could see even more of him. So don't hate that title. Anything else to add? If not, you can take us into these wide receivers, man. Give us your thoughts here.
Yeah, I'll go team by team to talk receivers because there's obviously so many in play, and then I'll circle my thoughts. So we'll start with Miami. Obviously, Tyreek will be one of the highest, if not the highest owned players on the slate. And if I had to hit the lock button on anybody, it would be Tyreek today. Could just obviously do it in so many ways. Pricing kind of soft. Jalen Waddle's an interesting. I mean, he's definitely going to be popular as well, but not as popular as Tyreek. I mean, Tyreek might be 75%. Waddle a little under 50. If you play Tua, Tyreek, and Waddle, it's pretty difficult. Obviously, you're always punting tight end. Almost everyone in that build would go A.J. Dillon. So just think of little stuff like that. There's enough other punt receivers that'll be on the field mixing in that I think you could go 4 receivers, Waddle, Tua, Tyreek, make it work. And again, in fade A.J. Dillon, that's little stuff to get different in the build. But love Tyreek, Waddle, a good pivots. I don't know, like Braxton Berrios. There's multiple guys in these low 3K range we'll touch on. Berrios runs the most as the 3 receiver sets. Still don't love it though, but any touchdown from these guys in the low 3K range, I'm going to bring up multiple at the wide receiver position, could break the slate. On the other side of Tennessee, we have multiple guys in the 3K range. Besides DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks is back. It was back last week, but he hardly played. It was Nick Westbrook-Akine and Chris Moore, both min price at 3K. Treylon Burks is also down there at 3K as well. I don't know, man. Like, I don't have a strong – Kyler Phillips didn't even suit up. He was a scratch. I think he'll probably be more Akine, D-Hop again. I don't really know. At the end of the day, I think Akine, I'm very confident, will be the number 2. Maybe Moore and Treylon Burks will mix in a little bit as the 3. They all suck. I mean, it's an awful offense. I don't even want to target much. But I think Akine is going to be the guy that I'm going to get the most to besides D-Hop. I don't know. D-Hop's fine. Obviously, they're going to be chucking the ball a ton, playing from behind. Still 6.1K. You actually have to do something. I really don't love that too much. I'd prefer the Green Bay guys. Obviously, Green Bay is the story of the slate outside of Tyreek when it comes to ownership. It's because they're cheap and they're going to run out pretty much 4 guys. Dubs, Jaden Reed's the number 2. Wicks was the number 3. Malik Heath was the number 4. And they also have Toure. Toure's, I wouldn't play him at all at 3K. Malik Heath's going to be 1-2% owned, mixing a little bit in wide receiver 4 sets if you want to get different there. But it's really the Dubs, Reed, Wicks. I think Dubs will probably be the lowest. I don't know. Dubs, Wicks, and Reed will all be pretty close, I think. How I rank them, Reed, Dubs, Wicks. No strong lean there. Reed is definitely my favorite, though. He's had a great connection with Jordan Love. They use him a lot of pre-snap motion, give him some handoffs, too. So Reed's my favorite, but Wicks, Dubs, and Malik Heath would be the punt. And then on the Giants side, I mean, they're all free. Like, this is why I keep talking about it. If you want to go 4 receivers, you want to go Tyreek, Waddle, Saquon, Tua, all the spend ups. There's so many cheap wide receiver punts that are going to be mixing and matching on the field. They don't project well, but it only takes them falling in the box once. Giant spot's really easy for me, though, because it's been for a minute now. Hyatt, Slayton, Wendell Robinson as their 3 receiver set. The only 3 I would play. My favorite, Hyatt definitely has the most upside, the lowest floor, because he has that deep ball, the go route. He can just catch 1 for 60 and get there. I think it's a Wendell Robinson would be my favorite, though. We talked about this man on the show for months now. Works out of the slot. DeVito has to have some quick passes. I think Wendell would be my favorite. Rounding it all up, wrapping it up all together. Tyreek, I think lock buttoning him, totally good with that. D-Hop, Reed, Dubs, Wicks. I don't know. The more I'm talking about it, I think a lot of my teams are going to have one of these Westbrook-Akines, Berrioses, Slaytons, Hyatts, Robinsons, some of these punts that hopefully fall in the box, find the optimal, and then allow me to spend up for Tyreek and some of these other studs.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have lineups a lot just to play off that. I'm fine with like capping Tyreek versus going all in. So I'm going to have a lot of lineups that just leave money but play some of these random guys and just hope that they can score with them. But I'm going to have like a DeAndre Hopkins or like a Dobbs or a Reed. I really like your Reed call. Again, you get no Aaron Jones. they're already using him as a receiver, but they use him as a guy that they can just chuck around and do end arounds to, or little trick plays and things like that. We've seen it a lot more lately with guys like CeeDee Lamb. We've always seen it with Debo, all of that. I like Reed and Dobbs the most there. On the Giants side, it's probably the H's. The chat brought him up. I probably like Hodgins and Hyatt more than Robinson Slayton. I know Slayton's the big home run play, but there has to be a bat involved to hit a home run. I'm not sure if DeVito's that, so you have to have a way to get there first. And I don't know if that's going to be the case. I like these guys a little bit more just to try and catch one close, or a guy like Hyatt, I would take that chance on more just to try and feature the young guy coming up. So I don't hate that. People love Slayton though, so I get it. He'll be in there. Like, I'm just picking my favorites in the spirit of time. And then on Tennessee, it's Hopkins. Don't hate the Burks call if you want to take the chance, because the snaps, like I'd probably separate Moore and him, because I don't think you're going to get them anyway, speaking of my point earlier. But I would make sure, and I would think of that out loud, it's going to be between those two. And I think Burks, I would just take the chance. It's just, he can catch one ball and be hurt again. And so there's always that ends up being an issue. And then Miami's pretty obvious. It's Tyreek and Waddle, but maybe I end up slightly underweight Tyreek or around field, and maybe a little overweight on Waddle. But like Title said, I'm going to be mixing in some of these guys in there that, more. The Wicks one has to just be a product of how everything else shakes out on the slate. Like I was talking about this in Discord earlier. The more I see it, the more it does look like. I just ran it even on our stuff. Wicks is getting into 50% of the lineups. Like, it just loves them. And that's on like a 7. I think his projection is 7.7. Like, it's not even anything serious. It's just because of what it makes work. There is 10 guys we just mentioned down in that range. So if that does become a thing, there is lots of ways to get different there. And then I actually like, last thing, and I'll let you go, Hoop, is like some Tua with his guys and at least one running back, because I think a lot of people are going Love with his receivers and Tyreek, and then getting off those guys and going to like a Dylan Barkley. So you can get different that way, or somewhere set it up there. So, and yeah, Wicks is that dude. Like that dude, lately they've been doing this, or they don't do that much, or the matchup is this, literally goes completely out the window on a 2-game slate. There's no way these guys can do anything until they do. There's no way Wicks can bust. He's that dude. He has to come through on this slate for you at $3,800. Go ahead, Hoop. You take over. Wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, Tyreek, just gotta. I mean, the thing is, his ownership is so high. If you want to take a stance on him, it's like you got to come close to just hitting that lock button on him, and just the safest source of fantasy points on the slate, just having an incredible season. So, I mean, you don't really need to say much about him. But guy on the other side, Jalen Waddle, I think, not going to be low owned, don't get me wrong, but maybe a little overshadowed with Tyreek there at such a cheap price. I want to make sure I get a lot of Waddle as well. Maybe mix in Berrios just a little bit if I'm playing a lot of Tua, which I plan on doing. The Packers stuff is interesting. Jaden Reed, Dobbs, Wicks all look to be solid. If you just hit the optimizer, you're going to get a lot of those guys. These are the situations where, I'm going to play these guys. I'm fine playing multiple of these guys on the same team. It's just, 4,700 for Reed, 5K for Dobbs, 3,800 for Wicks. It's just easy to play these guys without Christian Watson in there. So definitely want exposure to all of those guys at a heavy rate. And I'm, not worried about, how many I have on one given team. The Titans wide receivers, I think, definitely the most difficult to figure out. I like Title's point at 6,100. Like he's got to do something, and it's a term we use a lot on the show, but it's the truth. 61, he's got to show up and do something. Potentially a trailing game script, and he's appears to have a pretty good connection with Levis. So 6,100. In those Dolphins teams, want some exposure to him. Probably like him better than Derrick Henry today, but man, it's 6,100. Like I said, he's kind of in a tier of his own at wide receiver. There's like no one else really priced around him at all. He's just in that little section all by himself,
which is going to force him to get ownership,
right?
Just because of that.
Yeah. It's definitely going to happen because he's projected higher than like guys like Dobbs and stuff. So he will just. You're right. Yeah, when people run teams, he's going to get ownership for that reason. But this is the most difficult wide receiver group to figure out. The Titans, Hopkins, Burks. What the hell is going on with him? Westbrook, Akine.
3K, maybe a little bit of those guys, not too much. But man, these something with the Giants, I don't know. It's got to be like mental with me today with these Giants. But I like these guys because they're definitely coming in going to be lower on than the Packers stuff. There's no doubt about it. And you got 3 guys super cheap: Wan'Dale Robinson, Slayton, Jalen Hyatt. Hyatt's by far my favorite, though. I mean, he went 6 for 100. They're forcing him the ball last week. He's their young guy. He gets the deep stuff, too. I think he had like a 40-yard catch last game. I really like Hyatt today. I think Hyatt's a great play at 34. Fine getting some Slayton, and we've kind of been riding Wan'Dale Robinson basically all season. I mean, since he came back, I think he was injured early on, and we kind of talked about him as the guy they just want to force it to, and they do that. 5, 3, 4, 5 targets. Those aren't massive numbers. I get it. But he always has something, and it's always like the scripted plays to get him the ball type stuff, which on a 2-game slate, that's very valuable. If they're running plays to make sure a guy gets the ball, you want that. So in on him as well. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of wide receivers to play in terms of the cheapies. Hyatt stands out for me for sure.
Yeah, one thing I'm noticing a lot of in the optimizer too is Tua and Barkley just go together everywhere, no matter what. A lot of like the Derrick Henry either joins that or filters over to the Love lineups. And realistically, that's interesting because it's in an optimizer. You see it again. It goes by projection, but in reality, it should kind of be set up the other way. Like I would want to see, like I want Henry to somewhat be, if it's going to be Henry, then I think it means they're going to be up and he's going to be scoring early on and getting lucky, or maybe a turnover happens early and then they get in the box and then something else. And next thing you know, that's what it's cause and effect. Then now all of a sudden we get Tua coming back the other way with his guys, and it's just not showing up like that again in these dry runs. So I would keep an eye on that when you're building out the lineups as well. I know it's not a wide receiver point, but I was looking at that while Hoop was going through it. I think, again, how you set things up tonight is going to be the key more than anything else versus just the diamond in the rough play. You'll need everybody to score well or someone to come through to make it happen for you. But going back to wide receiver like Wicks, if you get Wicks in there because he makes everything work, but what he's making work is like the stone chalk every position, that's going to be, again, how you winning a $20 with $500K up top with that. So I try and keep all these things in my mind as I'm looking to build out and go against the rest of the grain on the slate. Title, anything else to add on that? If not, let's do tight ends and defenses, I guess you could mention, but we're no kickers tonight. And defenses, I mean, we tied in some of everything we talked about here on showdown slates. You're getting the kickers in there, but for the most part, you're tying in these main skill positions and going from there. Give us your thoughts at tight end, defense. And if you want to add kickers for the showdown players, go ahead.
I'll let Hoop touch on kickers. I haven't even looked at anything like that. As far as tight ends, I mean, there's really only, I guess I can't say just 2 guys because Bellinger's in play at 2.8, but Chig and Tucker Kraft are going to get most of the ownership at this position. I mean, there is no Musgrave. That's another Packers injury it's been like that. It was out last week as well, so it hasn't changed. But another pass catcher, one of their top guys that's out. Tucker Kraft's actually good. I mean, he's athletic. He can turn upfield. Jordan Love likes him a bit. I think I prefer him to Chig because I expect Chig to be a little higher owned. At the end of the day, though, I might just Bellinger. If Bellinger was out, Cager, I guess, maybe would be in the pool. But I might just cross all these guys off, just play Chig, just play Tucker Kraft, even in my 150. Like, this tight end's awful. It's completely awful. So that's my take there. As far as defenses, I don't know. I guess because on a 2-game slate and with how much randomness there is, like, probably I should just play the ownership game. Of course, the Packers against the Giants and Miami against Tennessee, like, they're big favorites. The offenses suck on the other side, but defense is so freaking random, man. We see it all the time. So why not on a 2-game slate go to some Tennessee, go to some Giants, and just hope and you get leverage off of that way? So what? Giants and Tennessee probably going to be sub 15% both. I mean, Tennessee is going to be way down there. Yeah, I'll probably be overweight on them. Not like I'm fading the other 2 teams, but it's probably going to be my stance. Can play some chalkier lineups, mix in a low on D. Maybe the highest scoring D today scores 6, and you just get lucky. It's one of those 2. So that's my take there.
Feels like that too. And Michael says, always supporting the show. We appreciate it. Wide receiver is the biggest key today. Agree. I also think, like, if you can spin it around a little bit at positions like tight end and defense where they're onesie positions, meaning there's only one that you have to play and you get forced into it, because that can really break a slate like this when a lot of the other stuff feels pretty safe or pretty standard, like quarterback, Love and Tua. Makes sense. Running back, the Barkleys, the Miami guys, Dylan, and whatever from there. Tight end is tough to figure out. Defense is always tough. There's only 4 to pick from, though, at least. And then wide receiver, if you give the pass to Tyreek, it's 2 spots that you got to siphon through and figure out and cycle through a bunch of guys that you can fit in there. So definitely agree with that. And it depends on how you set up, I think, roster construction as a whole. But like, I love that one call that you had there, title on Kraft. I'm seeing like Chig and guys like that get pumped out a bunch, who I also like. But I'm just saying, from a perspective of this slate and just thinking about it, if everyone's going to be on Wicks, Reed, Dobbs, all of those guys, and they're all going to have ownership in their own right, but especially Wicks, if it does end up being a thing now, you can just push that over to the tight end spot where you have to burn it up anyway and just hope it's him. And there was a lot of good conversation on him coming in since Musgrave's gone down, essentially, in saying it's kind of like what we saw with Dalton Kincaid. Dawson Knox came back yesterday, but they're still running a bunch of routes for Kincaid. He's still getting open, getting more like slot routes, things like that, where you can see him still catch a few balls. That could come in handy today with a guy like Kraft, and you could avoid, again, do what I said earlier. Flip it now to a guy you probably feel better about. I gave the DeVito, Barkley, Bellinger, or Cager conversation. You could go Love, Dillon, and Kraft and cut out all those receivers for Green Bay. That's super sneaky in a sense, because now you can get like Waddle, Tyreek, and somebody else, and you don't have a Green Bay receiver while having the running back with his quarterback that not as many people do. More on 2 games, they do it. The tight end, all that. I just look for little things like that. But go ahead, Hoop. I'll kick it over to you before we get out of here. Any other thoughts here at tight end, kicker, defense, anything else you want to add?
Oh man, the tight end stuff's tough because you got 2 guys, obviously, Kraft and Chig, and I just looked at Smythe because I'm like, all right, if I'm playing a lot of Tua, I want to get some Smythe, but holy man, does that look brutal. I mean, it's nothing. I mean, literally just like nothing.
The real cardio king.
Yeah, right. I mean,
2 guys.
He must be a really good blocker, right? I don't know.
He is. He's a good blocker.
Yeah. I mean, he just does nothing out there. So yeah, maybe it's just Kraft and Chig, maybe a little Bellinger, that sort of thing. But it's tough to fill that position. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, we got Showdown cores, and then all full content for the 2 games slate. Some of the cores are already up. As
yeah, see what I mean? It's that easy. I always tell people in the Discord, I guess it's easier to ask the question. I always tease them, but I use my gym. Everyone thinks I'm too mean, but I use like the gym thing. You want me to lift the weights for you too? Like, you're in the gym, you got all the stuff at your fingertips. It's actually already up. A lot of the core report is up for tonight. We're doing the Tennessee Miami game because that's what DraftKings decided is the slate they want to put the most money towards. So already on the site, good to go for that. My slate plan is up for the 2-gamer. My core is up for the 2-gamer. The projections are up with the latest ownership, and we'll get everything updated further and updated in the Discord as we get closer. But there's a ton of content already up, and the projections are good that you can start messing with. That's what we're using on this show as we're talking through it. Carry on, Hoop. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the tight end position's tough, and then defense is bad. If we don't like the Giants, we don't like the Titans. Like, defense just so random. We just see it again last night. The Eagles got their ass kicked, and what happened? They pick up the ball and run in the end zone and get a touchdown. Just literally one play. We talk about it a lot, just one play with like wide receivers and running backs and stuff like that. But it truly is the case with defenses, because once they score a defensive touchdown, any of these defenses, they're likely the defense that you need on the slate. So I'm fine playing whoever at defense tonight. Definitely more worried about what I'm doing at the other positions. And then for kickers, for Showdown, I really like what's the dude's name for the Dolphins?
Sanders?
Yeah, Sanders. In on Sanders for sure. And man, how incredible is that Dallas guy? I mean, that's you haven't seen that in a while. Like Justin Tucker-esque. Like, dude just goes out there unfazed and just nailing 50, 60 yarders like right down the pipe with extra yardage behind it. Just incredible, man. Incredible.
Yeah. Love to see that. Our guy Justin says my work blocks it. That's brutal. We got to get that solved, but it's the way it goes. They might think we're all gambling and all that. And I'm not a personal trainer, but if I was a personal DFS trainer, I'm more motivation and heavy speaking to make you get after it than actually just giving you the answers. I always want you to figure them out yourself. We talk about it. I live it for sure. All of us do here, but we try and get you to truly build your own process so that you don't have to rely on just one thing. That's kind of there as a baseline. I think you should always read slate plans and check player pools and see all that stuff to find out where others are at and get ideas. But that's why we try and make these shows about thinking through the slate from a perspective of what everybody else is doing and how we can apply our knowledge and thoughts towards using it that way to be better at what we're doing to try and get a leg up and get to the top. And we've done a lot of that lately and getting to the top. So one thing we forgot, boys, was the free memberships, the 2 free memberships. What's the best game?
Who wants a free membership?
All right.
Post a message.
And you want a free membership, put in the number 23 right now. Title, final thoughts on this slate as we await the fun here. Give us your final thoughts, Title, and then I'll kick it to Hoop and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. I mean, when pretty much there's 2 quarterbacks people want to play, 2 tight ends people want to play. Yeah, there it goes. What is that, like an 8-9 second delay to YouTube? I was wondering.
We'll get him in a second. We'll get him.
Yeah. Tight end position, quarterback position, really only, especially tight end, really only 2 guys. Bellinger, maybe I'll include a little bit, so you could go 3 there. I don't really think I'll be playing DeVito, maybe not Levis. So if you're on that path too, again, that's the chalky route. You got to get different. You got to leave money on the table. Overstack a game that's not the Packers, because I think that's the one spot. If you go Love, Reed, Wicks, or Kraft, like you feel like you might be getting different, but they all project pretty well. They're all pretty cheap, and you can still feel like good stuff around that. So leave some money, mix in some sub 10, 15% player. And it's not necessarily like Showdown where you have to have a game script in mind. But hey, if you think the Packers-Giants game's awful, load up on the other game. You can make a 2-game slate, almost a 1-game slate. I feel like that's kind of, I can't remember Squirrel's exact lineup, but I feel like he did that as well, where he only had like 1 or 2 pieces of one game, loaded up the other game. And we have a 37 total and a 45 total. And we have a 14-point spread and about a 7-point spread. So you could totally see loading up on one game, fading the other outside of a couple pieces, 1-2 pieces. And that's different as well. So yeah, that's all I look at on these slates. How can I get different? So when I win the 500K by myself.
All right. Now just going through these 23s.
I got one. If I can go ahead and select one.
Please don't give it to somebody who put it like 14 times.
Well, that's automatically disqualifying. Like if you put it a ton, you're automatically out. But I'm picking someone that put 23, then somebody endorsed them to win. So they didn't put it twice, but they had an endorsement behind their number 23. So Justin, that's one.
Where's the endorsement? Let me see. Give one to Alex.
Alex Hahn put in there. Yeah, give one to him. So he put the number in just one time, followed the rules, and got an endorsement behind his 23. So I like that. All
right, 23. I got the other one. I'd usually let Title, but it goes with a play on words we had from the other day. But Justin,
of course, no, who would have guessed? Who would have guessed?
Not really. It's not even a play on words as much as a good idea. Who knows what the other company is? But we'll give it to Make It Happen, who says been down since y'all were with the other company. So Make It Happen and Justin can both reach out. info@shipitnation.com. Screenshot your YouTube account. Send to the email there. We'll get you set up so you can get in for tonight. Get in on the action. That's 1 free month of ShipItNation.com. Thanks to our guy Nevs. Again, that's 6 monthly memberships now wrapped up that he's given away. And then we have a 6-month membership that we're going to be giving away on his behalf. We'll make that a little bit bigger. We have a signed Dan Marino authentic jersey we're going to be giving away soon. So keep an eye on that.
Maybe,
if you don't
maybe giving away. It's currently in Hoop's basement. And man,
I got take it out of the plastic.
I got a nice spot in the bar that I could hang that puppy. But no, it will be part of the giveaway.
Yeah, that's the one. But a lot of 23s got thrown in. So a lot of people want to join the nation. That's good. If you want to join the nation, you did not get in, you can still get in. Today's the last day. You won't regret it. Give it a shot. $49 for the monthly. You can hop in. Gets you 1 month. It gets you in the Discord. Everything else that comes with the site. Lots of action over there. It's on the screen in front of you. But again, appreciate everybody. Lots of great support. Hoop, did you have any other final thoughts you were going to add before you got to go?
No, I mean, it's fun little change. I mean, we like the showdown slates, but the 2-gamer, I'm digging it tonight. So I'm looking forward to this one. I mean, the games, not so much. And I'm with my boy Title tonight. Go Pack, go, baby.
Go Pack, go.
Yeah, we got to get that. That's going to be good. Hopefully, I think it's still going to be good in your favor, but we know Hoopster will have the hedge lineups just in case. All about it. So we'll get them set up just to make sure. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. Smash the like on the way out. If you're watching it on playback, remember, pause it. Takes 2 seconds. Go over to the Ship It Nation YouTube station. I know a lot of 23s were in there for just 1 month. We're going to be giving away a 1 year, the $5.99 big boy, the annual membership right here. We're going to be giving that away when we get to 5,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, the Ship It Nation YouTube station. So go over there and subscribe for Title, for Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it.